every couple of days, at least for the hours on the phone. It was really crazy. He'd call late at night. I'd go,
At 74, Cassandra Peterson looks completely different from the woman who shocked America for decades. The pale face is gone. The black hair is gone. Even the curves that made millions stare are gone. But the biggest change isn't what you can see. In 2021, she revealed a secret she'd hidden for 19 years, something that could have destroyed her career if anyone had found out. The truth about who she really loved. The truth about why she finally walked away from Elvira forever. What she looks like now will surprise you. Cassandra Peterson came into the world on September 17, 1951, in Manhattan, Kansas. But her life never followed an easy line. When she was just 2, boiling water spilled over her tiny body and burned more than 35% of her skin. She spent 3 long months in the hospital, wrapped in grafts and fear. She later said she felt like a monster, and that feeling followed her everywhere. Kids stared, some whispered. Yet this pain pulled her toward horror films, because in creatures like Frankenstein and the Mummy, she saw pieces of herself. By 8, she was already turning those feelings into small shows in her backyard. She set up puppet plays inspired by B-movies like The Blob and charged neighbors 10 cents to watch. At home, she lived under strict Pentecostal rules that banned makeup and dancing. The more she was told no, the more she dreamed about showbiz lights and spooky stories. The early hurt and early imagination mixed in her mind, creating the spark that would guide her through the years. When she turned 14, she entered a little beauty contest called Miss Tallulah and won the title along with a $50 prize. She had just gotten braces and had shot up to 5'10", and winning gave her more than a crown. It gave her a way out. She spent the prize money on her first stack of horror comics, getting lost in strange worlds that felt more welcoming than real life. Around that same time, her parents were falling apart. Her father's alcoholism grew worse, and when she was 15, the divorce came fast and bitter. She dropped out of high school for a short time and worked as a waitress to support herself. One afternoon at the diner, a customer grabbed her, and the shock of it stayed with her long after. That moment pushed her harder toward Hollywood. She didn't know how she would get there, but she knew she couldn't stay where she was. Kansas kept shaping her in ways she couldn't forget. After the burn accident, she had already learned how to survive stares and teasing, but the wounds at home cut even deeper. Her father worked as a commercial sign painter who handled glowing neon lights and gave her small glimpses of showbiz charm. Her mother, however, was often emotionally and physically abusive. Cassandra remembered sharp words and heavy silence. Her sisters suffered even more. Both struggled with addiction, and both died young. By 14, Cassandra found a way to distance herself, but the pain of watching her family unravel forced her to grow faster than she should have. She hid inside creepy toys and old horror films because those stories understood her. She entertained anyone who would watch, even when her Pentecostal home told her it was wrong. The strict rules, the broken family, the loneliness, all of it created a strange armor inside her. She was learning how to stand out and how to survive at the same time. Then came 1968. She was 17 and ready to risk something bold. She entered an Elvis Presley look-alike contest in Las Vegas. She walked on stage in a white jumpsuit, wearing a pompadour wig, and sang Heartbreak Hotel like she meant it. The crowd froze for a second, shocked by a teenage girl impersonating Elvis. Then they went wild. She won the contest, and with that win came an offer she never expected. The Dunes Hotel wanted her as a showgirl. 17 is young for Vegas, yet she stepped into that glittering world without looking back. She wrote in her memoir that this moment changed everything because she proved she could wow a crowd even when she took a strange path to do it. Soon after, she joined the Folies Bergère Revue at the Tropicana. It was her first steady stage job, though the paycheck was only $75 each week. She lived in a rundown motel near the Strip, and the long nights left her exhausted. One night, a drunk gambler tried to break into her room. She locked the door, called the police, and screamed until help arrived. It was the first time she felt the real danger that came with the life she wanted. The glamour of Vegas hid a darker side, and she was learning it one frightening moment at a time. In 1969, she joined a rock band called The New Boys and toured across the Midwest as a backup singer and go-go dancer. The days were long, the motels were dirty, and the crowds were unpredictable. Everything felt wild until one night backstage when a bandmate overdosed. The shock shook her. She realized how unstable the music world could be, and she walked away from the group. Her dreams were still alive, but she needed a safer path. This experience pushed her toward comedy and acting, and she held on to that shift tightly. In 1970, when she was 19, she saved $200 from her Vegas tips and moved to Los Angeles. She slept on couches, carried her suitcase from place to place, and walked everywhere for auditions. She tried out for the Doris Day Show, but was turned away because she looked too edgy. Rejection became a daily routine. Money ran out often. Still, she stayed in Hollywood because running home felt worse. Every small no taught her how to push for the next chance. In 1976, she auditioned for The Gong Show as a roller skating nun. Her routine lasted barely 30 seconds before she got gonged, and the embarrassment washed over her like heat. Instead of quitting, she decided to get better. She joined improv classes at the Groundlings and started discovering her voice. This shift mattered. The Groundlings would later shape huge names in comedy, and she was slowly finding her own power inside that circle. From 1971 to 1979, she became a star showgirl in the massive Viva Las Vegas production at the International Hotel. She did almost 300 shows every year, in feathered headdresses and sequined bikinis, while standing in 6-inch heels. It left her with constant back pain, but the pay was strong. She earned $1,000 per week, one of the best salaries a showgirl could get. Every 2-hour show demanded perfection, and the long rehearsals drained her body. Yet she kept going because she knew she was building something bigger than applause. In 1973, she appeared on The Gong Show again, this time as a seductive vampire. The performance was wild and campy, and people remembered it. Radio stations started hiring her to record ads. Her voice had a dramatic ring that listeners loved. Dealers sold cars with her ads. Stations played her voice between songs. This was her first touch of national attention, and it showed her how powerful her sound could be. Then came 1978. She landed a small role in the horror spoof, Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hype. The film had Oliver Reed, and she hoped it would help her career. Instead, the movie collapsed. It made only $100,000, and critics tore it apart. She had no money afterward, and spent nights sleeping in her car, eating cheap noodles to get by. She later joked that the experience taught her how to survive anything. The failure pushed her to rethink her path, nudging her closer to voice acting and television work. In 1977, trouble struck again. A rival dancer accused her of shoplifting a diamond necklace. The jewelry had been planted in her purse, and for days she lived under suspicion. Security tapes finally cleared her name, but the fear of losing her career stayed with her. The gossip spread fast in Vegas. She learned how jealousy could ruin someone's life if the truth didn't come out in time. Then, in 1979, she leaned into voice acting. She dubbed Italian horror films like Macumba Sexual for only $50 a session. The work was degrading at times. Producers pushed her for sexier shots and uncomfortable moments, but she kept going because she needed the money. Even in those rough rooms, her voice stood out. It became the bridge to better roles and better chances. In August 1981, KHJ-TV in Los Angeles was desperate to revive its old horror movie slot, the one that once belonged to Mela Nurmi's Vampira. When Nurmi couldn't return, the producers went looking for someone younger and sharper, someone who could flip a dying segment into something people actually watched. Cassandra Peterson walked in at 30, a Groundlings improv comic with Vegas showgirl confidence still lingering in her voice. She improvised a character that felt mysterious and funny at the same time. And she built her look from almost nothing. A $5 wig that she spray painted herself, a $20 thrift store gown, a towering black beehive wig that made her look like she had stepped out of a comic book. The whole thing cost just about $100, yet it created a force that no studio had planned for. She painted herself pale like Morticia Addams, but the attitude was all hers. Sassy, playful, full of lines like "thrill me, chill me, fulfill me." When her first episode aired on September 26, 1981, and she introduced Grave of the Vampire, ratings jumped by 20% almost overnight. And when a cheeky little cleavage joke sparked FCC complaints, the noise only pulled more people toward her, because controversy sometimes works like a magnet. What made her even bolder was the path she had taken before Elvira existed. At 17, she had been the youngest showgirl in Las Vegas, dancing under bright lights at the Dunes Hotel, in shows like Vive Les Girls. Elvis Presley himself had once given her career advice. After that, she drifted through Europe, singing, performing, trying everything she could. When she returned home, she spent time in drag reviews, and that world shaped the humor and edge that Elvira would later carry. KHJ-TV producers once tried to ban the deep neckline of her dress. She walked into the studio with a trench coat over everything, then revealed the full outfit only when the cameras were rolling. That moment became part of her legend. The network had no idea that the character they thought would be a simple, sexy ghoul would turn into something far more powerful. Her Vegas past and her years of stage confidence gave her the courage to push the limits. And once people saw it, they couldn't look away. By 1982, the show had exploded into syndication across 20 markets, gathering 2 million viewers every week. The only problem was that Peterson kept clashing with producers. They trimmed her jokes, softened her innuendos, and sometimes deleted bits she loved. More than once, she told them she would walk away. But even with those battles, her show kept spreading. Halloween parties echoed with her look. Kids' costumes copied her silhouette. She turned thrift store scraps into a national symbol. Her stubbornness, mixed with wild charm, gave her a kind of staying power that didn't fade easily. From 1983 to 1986, Elvira's movie macabre reached almost the entire country, showing up in more than 98% of U.S. households by 1985. She hosted more than 300 B-movies, tossing in jokes, double meanings, and a style that was impossible to imitate. Every Halloween season, ratings climbed, and by the mid-1980s, she was earning about $50,000 per season, which was a huge amount for niche TV at the time. People expected horror hosts to be cheap and forgettable. She proved that charisma could turn late-night scraps into gold. Then came the merchandising era. In 1985, she launched Elvira dolls on QVC. 100,000 units sold at $20 each. $2 million in one season. Fans treated those dolls like collectibles, and the frenzy only grew. But success always draws shadows. Bootleggers popped up everywhere, copying her wigs and outfits. She sued several of them to protect her brand. Those court battles showed the world how fragile celebrity rights were in the 1980s. She ended up shaping the way licensing and copyright protection worked for future stars. Around the same time, she filmed a Coors Light commercial in 1984 that aired more than 1,000 times across the country. She appeared as a ghost, playful and seductive, and people couldn't stop talking about it. But feminist groups attacked the ad, accusing it of using her body to sell beer. The noise grew, but something unexpected happened. Her endorsement fee doubled to $100,000 per deal. Controversy once again pulled her upward. Coors Light leaned into the moment and called itself the official beer of Halloween. The campaign helped cement Elvira's place as someone who would not back down when people tried to define her. Then came the blow that hit closer to home. In 1985, her agent stole $200,000 from her merchandising royalties. He told her it was lost in investments, but court evidence proved he had used the money for himself. She sued, she fought, and she recovered only 30% of it. The betrayal pushed her toward personal bankruptcy and forced her to negotiate deals on her own. The agent ended up bankrupt too. It became a warning for every rising star who thought their inner circle was safe. Even after all this, her climb continued. When she hosted Saturday Night Live in October 1986, more than 15 million viewers tuned in. She played with her own persona, joked about B-movies, and shared the stage with Pee Wee Herman and other comedy favorites. Ratings spiked. People realized she wasn't just a horror character. She could hold her own in mainstream comedy as well. 2 years later, she took her biggest gamble. In 1988, she pitched and self-produced Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, with New World Pictures. The budget was $7.5 million, huge for a cult personality. It opened on September 30th, 1988, in 627 theaters. During the first weekend, it made $1,660,741. Worldwide, it pulled in $5,596,267, which was less than what it cost. Critics were split. She got a Saturn Award nomination and also a Razzie nomination. The movie looked like a failure in theaters, but when the VHS release came out and fans discovered it at home, it sold more than $10 million in video sales. The film became a cult treasure. This was one of those moments where a box office loss turned into something that would live for decades. In 1987, she had already turned down a role in the sequel to Pee-wee's Big Adventure, even though her cameo in the original had been memorable. Paul Reubens wanted her back, but she feared being trapped in a single type of character. So, she focused on voice work. Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School aired in the late 1980s and reached more than 50 million kids. It was a smart move that helped her stay flexible. In 1990, she appeared in Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Her scene was small, but she improvised lines that Joe Dante loved so much he kept them in the movie. The film made about $41 million domestically, and her brief moment added a spark that fans still remember. Then came the heartbreak of 1991. She created a pilot for The Elvira Show, a CBS sitcom where she played a fortune teller in Kansas. After filming, the network called it too risque for families. Some executives said her neckline alone made the show unfit for the time slot. CBS canceled it after one episode, wiping out almost $1 million in development costs. Fans later found bootleg copies online and wondered how something so strange and playful never made it to air. It showed how quickly a network could crush a project when they couldn't handle a bold woman doing her own thing. She pushed forward again in 2001 with Elvira's Haunted Hills. The film cost somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million. It premiered at the International Rocky Horror Fan Convention on June 23, 2001, then opened at the Les Emil Fairfax Cinemas on July 5th. Reviews were mixed, and audiences were small, but she won a Fangoria Award for Best Actress in Comedy. The movie went direct-to-video on October 31, 2002, and slowly found its audience. Fans still treat it like a hidden gem. The award proved that even small films made with heart could get real recognition. Cassandra Peterson's world kept opening in new directions, and each turn carried its own spark. It started in the early 1990s, when her voice began slipping into screens all over the world. Between 1992 and 2002, she voiced Elvira in more than 20 video games. Some were spooky adventures like Elvira, Mistress of the Dark on Commodore 64 and Amiga. Others were quirky titles tied to the Addams Family. Each job brought her about $20,000, which was above what most celebrity voice actors earned back then. Her punchy lines and playful tone reached more than 5 million players. Even now, People quote those lines like they heard them yesterday. Reviewers kept praising her humor, and she became the first horror figure to really break into video gaming at such a huge level. It felt like a new world opening just for her, and she kept walking into it with confidence. Soon after, she stepped into board games. In 1993, she narrated Elvira's Horror Hotel and helped shape its goofy style. The game sold around 500,000 copies and turned into a fan favorite for anyone who liked horror mixed with jokes. She even drew a few of the comic panels herself, including one wild scene where Elvira fought Dracula in a burning crypt. She worked closely with the designers, throwing in inside jokes and sharp lines that made the whole game feel like her. Because of that success, a line of spin-off comics followed. It showed how she could slip from one medium to another and still keep her voice clear, funny, and instantly recognizable. Years later, in 2012, she popped up in The Brass Teapot as Aunt Esther. It was a small role, but she turned it into something people remembered. Most of her lines were improvised, especially the curse scene that drives the entire story. The director said that moment added a real creepy edge and needed no reshoots. Soon, the clip spread online, becoming a little meme of its own. Even in a dark comedy filled with strange moments, her appearance stood out. But the mid-1990s had brought trouble, too. In 1995, Elvira's Mistress of the Dark comic series got pulled from about 200 stores after a fan mail section printed questions with lesbian undertones. Distributors panicked. Retailers refused to carry it. Instead of backing down, Peterson took control and relaunched the series on her own. Sales climbed past 1 million copies. Fans saw her refusal to bend as a kind of victory. Every issue held her sharp humor, campy monsters, and fearless style. That entire saga turned her into an even stronger symbol in the comic world. Then came television again. In 2010, she revived Elvira's Movie Macabre on Sci-Fi. 26 episodes aired between September 2010 and June 2011. Guest stars popped in, horror films rolled, and about 1.2 million viewers tuned in each episode. Production budgets were tight. Her wig budget was cut in half. But her charm kept the show alive. The revival carried a retro warmth that made new audiences fall in love with her just like older ones had. It proved she could still command attention, even when the resources around her were shrinking. Her business skills showed up too. In 2011, she launched Elvira's wine line. 5 vintages came out at $25 a bottle. By 2013, more than 100,000 cases had sold. Then everything crumbled in 2014, when a cork taint contamination forced a recall. Retailers pulled bottles. Complaints flooded in. The damage crossed $500,000 in costs and repairs. She spent sleepless nights dealing with suppliers and publicists. In her memoir, she talked about the shock and the painful scramble to save the brand. That setback taught her lessons about quality, reputation, and choosing partners carefully. In 2013, she voiced a seductive vampire character inspired by Elvira on The Simpsons for Treehouse of Horror 44th. It aired on November 10, 2013, and drew only 7.2 million viewers, one of the lowest numbers for that series. Many Fox channels had replaced the episode with sports. Critics complained about her short screen time and how disconnected the character felt from her real persona. In her memoir, she said she felt disappointed. After that experience, she decided she would not accept primetime roles anymore. She was tired of being squeezed into pieces that didn't respect her, but her creativity kept spilling out. In 2016, she produced a stage musical version of 13 Ghosts in Las Vegas. It ran for 50 shows and earned a profit of $300,000. Opening night brought a jarring moment when a special effects device malfunctioned and set her wig on fire. It singed her scalp and needed immediate care. Still, she finished the performance. Later, she joked that she added real horror to the show. The story became a backstage legend and showed how tough she really was. Then came something far heavier. In 2018, she was diagnosed with skin cancer after decades of wearing heavy, pale makeup that trapped carcinogens against her skin. She had 5 surgeries that totaled around $50,000. She took 6 months away from her career to heal. During that time, she spoke openly online about sunscreen and makeup safety. News outlets covered her recovery and praised her honesty. The experience reminded her how fragile health can be, and she began supporting cancer awareness efforts with real passion. In 2019, she teamed up with Funko to release 10 Elvira Pop variants priced at $12 each. The line made $1 million in 6 months. Fans loved them, but soon counterfeit versions appeared in Chinese markets, hurting sales and damaging the brand. She went to court to fight the copycats. Her memoir describes the emotional toll and the frustration, but she pushed through. The lawsuits led to major takedowns and helped protect celebrity merchandise rights in global markets. Her personal life had its own storms. She married Mark Pearson in 1981 after a fast Vegas romance. Their daughter, Sadie, was born in 1985. Soon after, rumors of his cheating stirred constant fights. They divorced in 1986, and she got shared custody. She tried to raise Sadie while keeping her career alive. It was hard. Fame amplified loneliness, and single parenting made it even harder. She wrote that those years felt like carrying 2 lives at once. But staying close to Sadie mattered to her more than anything. Then came a secret that lasted nearly 2 decades. In 1988, she began a hidden relationship with Teresa Weirson, known as T. They met through fitness. Their connection grew into something deep, but she hid it to protect the Elvira image. Hollywood was rough during the AIDS crisis, and the wrong public move could have erased her career. She kept the relationship in the shadows for 19 years. It left emotional bruises for both of them. Only much later did she reveal the truth, saying she regretted every year they spent hiding. The tension even reached her daughter. Sadie acted in Elvira's Haunted Hills in 2001. By 2005, the two clashed publicly when Sadie accused her of being a stage mother. The argument spilled into the media. They pulled apart for years, but by 2010, they found their way back. Sadie later thanked her mother for her support. Their story felt like a familiar Hollywood arc shaped by love, pressure, and forgiveness. Then came one of the boldest chapters. In 2021, at age 70, she came out publicly in her memoir. She revealed her relationship with T and spoke about decades of fear. She had worried about losing her brand and her fans. Instead, the memoir sold more than 100,000 copies in its first week. She lost around 11,000 followers, but gained more than 60,000 new ones. Messages poured in from people who felt inspired by her honesty. She became a queer icon almost overnight, and she embraced that with pride. Her life outside the spotlight showed its own battles too. After her divorce, she adopted 3 rescue dogs. In 2002, one of them, Bubba, bit a paparazzo who chased her too aggressively. He filed a $10,000 lawsuit. The court ruled in her favor when her lawyers proved the photographer had provoked the dog and trespassed. That ruling turned her into a symbol for pet owners fed up with invasive media behavior. In 2023, at age 72, she finally retired the Elvira costume. Years of platform heels and heavy wigs had caused multiple back surgeries and long recoveries. Her first wig had been made from a synthetic fiber that irritated her scalp. Over time, she tested countless versions to find a blend that wouldn't hurt. Even without the costume, the character lived on through a merchandising deal worth more than $1 million a year, and the 2025 Los Haunted Ride and Festival. She said Elvira had grown bigger than one person and would keep living like a cultural figure of her own. Now she appears as herself, gentler and freer, while preserving the legacy that shaped her life. In 2024, she released Elvira's Cookbook from Hell. It had 50 odd and funny recipes like ghoul ash and slithering serpentine salad. The book sold 50,000 copies in 6 months. She toured across major cities, greeting fans without the Elvira makeup. Crowds reached up to 200 people. She brought snacks, cocktails, and playful Q&A sessions. She said she wanted people to meet the real person behind the monster, and fans loved her for it. Her path kept branching. In 2025, she voiced Elvira in an AI-generated Netflix special called Elvira: Eternal Night. The project earned her $200,000 and stirred debates about deepfake ethics. The special recreated her younger look and voice. Some experts worried about identity and consent, but she saw it differently. She said technology could help keep Elvira alive for new generations. Viewers agreed. The special reached more than 2 million views in its first month. Around that time, she fought another fight. Hollywood producers offered her $100,000 to get facelifts to keep a youthful Elvira image. She refused. Instead, she spoke about aging with pride. Her TEDx talk reached more than 500,000 views. She said she felt powerful showing her real age. Fans and celebrities supported her and turned her into a leader in the fight against ageism. By 2025, her net worth reached about $4 million. Most of it came from Elvira residuals, books, and merchandise. She spent time mentoring young creators on Instagram, where she had 500,000 followers. She told them not to chase trends, but to stay true to themselves. She believed honesty would always find its audience. And through everything she lived, everything she fought, and everything she shared, her legacy kept spreading to new places where people still listened.